We're live, and welcome to the last Newsdesk on the left. I am your host, MacPaladin, and with me in the studio is Adam Dayton.
Jeez, this feels weird now. I'm not gonna lie.
and also we're going to be calling them the crew, but I will have everybody sound off. Our co-hosts, Kevin DeGrusing, would be joining us.
Hello there.
Petty Fan from the old MS. Yep. Petty Fan from the old MSP crew is here.
Oh God, everything's working, isn't it?
I hope so. The Golics.
Yes, that would be the me.
And of course we have Twilight Winter, the Mystery Hat Man.
Yo.
Wait, he has my mystery hat? Give it back.
I knew somebody would catch that. All right, so folks, we are here to fulfill the promise of a dream initiated long ago by our old podcast, Moonhawk Studios Presents, and we always had a penchant for delving into politics and talking about weird and unusual things. So we've decided that now is the time. One day after the gigantic clusterfuck that we call a debate.
That's an understatement, my friend.
Yeah.
To be a beacon in the darkness. To have at least one podcast that tries to make sense out of all that has happened to us. And yes, I do realize I'm Shatnering this right now.
As long as you know.
Now, since it's been a really long time since we've all been together, we're going to do our own little personal news segment here and catch everybody up in the tradition of MSP. And Adam, why don't you go ahead and lead us off?
Let's see. In terms of catch up, well, I mean, in real terms, we've been doing this show idea for a while now. It's just that was the post show to my program, Fragments of Silicon, which is still running. We're midway in our 13th season. Still every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Twitch and syndicated to YouTube a few days later. It's like, if you want the more details about our individual news segments, we do that on our show there first. That's a good bubble capsule here.
All right. Kevin, what are you up to?
Well, it has been quite a while, and I have relocated. I was, last time you heard me around here, I lived in North Carolina, but now I am in the Atlanta area, specifically in Hiram, Georgia, which I unfortunately have to say will be part of a congressional district represented by a QAnon believer in a couple of months. Which, and that would be, of course, Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene, if you're not familiar. Yes, thankfully, though, I live in a nice, say, 2-floor house that looks like a castle, which is just the right house to ride out any of the nonsense that is surrounding me. So,
when the revolutionaries come to your door, they will only ask you to join them once.
Yep. And, it's all good. It's all good, and I'm basically ready for whatever happens. So, but yeah, that's basically what's happening here, a relocation, and basically been hanging with the Fragments folks for doing basically what we're going to be doing here. So, yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, I figured it was about time we put this to good use, and
Yeah.
Of course, being the cynical businessman that I am,
Just give us a break.
Yeah, just gotta get those watch hours up on YouTube so we can monetize. Yeah.
Yep.
But hopefully, we will actually be able to
this is
accomplish
good
some good
content.
here.
This is good content, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we're able to do some good here.
Mm-hmm. We'll try at least. Best to try.
Right. Yep. All right, Petty Fan, what you up to?
Well, the big thing that happened for me since last I was on any of this is I had a very extensive knee surgery last year. Ended up falling on a piece of ice in February of last year and bashing my knee off a brick planter. Did some very bad cartilage and bone damage, so yeah.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. So, yeah, 2 surgeries later, I'm kind of able to hobble around on a cane. So, that's unfortunate. And yeah, apparently if I do any more stupid shit like that, I could be looking at a knee replacement before I'm 30.
Fun.
And yeah, as far as anything else major, not really. Most life's been the same. Still been doing the video games thing and running tech for Fragments and now last Newsdesk. So, next
go.
victim?
All right, the Colics is up.
I try not to learn the names of anyone who believes in there's a conspiracy theory where there's a whole bunch of cannibal pedophile
Yeah.
child traffickers, and only the Democrats are in on it.
Don't mince words.
Anyway, sorry. Not a whole lot going on here, really. I've been so far haven't had any really bad things happen with the whole, plague thing, and hopefully trying to keep it that way. I'm the Nintendo Switch correspondent mostly on Fragments, so spend a lot of time playing video games, have a day job. My uncle's getting a hip replacement soon. Actually, both of them, but he's 70, so that's a little bit different.
Yeah, compared to a 28-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, I don't have a whole lot to say, especially since I already said the little I had to say earlier.
Okay. Twilight.
Well, the most major event of my life since we last had this sort of gathering. I moved out of the middle of nowhere where I was for most of my life, and over into the nearby town here, about 20 miles away. And I'm now surrounded on 3 sides by neighbors, and it's been an interesting experience. This has been going on for a little over a year now. And I've been eyeing the nearby high school nervously because just as of Monday, the school started back, and I'm nervous about that because pandemic and such. And so far so good, I guess. I have to wait about the whole week and see what happens then. And otherwise, my life has been going well. Yeah, the things at work are going well, and that's it for me.
Okay. Well, of course, I'd like to say we saved the best for last, but the only thing I can say for sure is that I'm quite verbose. We got a lot to cover, but in brief, I'm working on finally publishing 3 new novels this year in the Starship Moonhawk franchise. We've begun collecting contracts and doing actual legitimate paperwork for our new film / motion comic, Survivor, which is a direct sequel to 2018's Surrender. I hesitated like that because I've been mixing them up in Skype chats with various principal people involved in the production. And they're like, wait, which one are you talking about again? And I'm like, forget about it. Don't worry about it.
So the one you helped with.
Yeah.
But my character is in both of them, and also you have me playing 2 people.
Right. Exactly. So that's probably one of the biggest things we've got going on right now. Kira and I are working on the Death of Perseus at long last. Yeah. It's something that's been ongoing for about 5 years, and of course, as you know from the old show, that started out as an attempt to make a dramatic audiobook, which then dovetailed into a motion comic, and is now a full-length animated feature film. Yeah, we've posted 11 and a half minutes of it so far to this channel, and it's so far it's been moderately well received, I think. But obviously we're still trying to boost numbers and stuff like that, because this channel has been woefully underutilized since I founded it in 2007.
Something like that.
Well, I want to get that. I want to get that dollar's worth of revenue that I saved up over the years. Thanks to wonderful organizations like Stormfront and the Proud Boys, we can't have nice things on YouTube anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all goes. Definitely. The Starship Moonhawk webcomic also hit a interesting milestone. I finally completed Act 5 of the Mercadian Affair after 19 years.
I was about to say, how many years has it been?
Yeah, well, I mean, technically this reboot has only been going for 11. But I feel like there should be hundreds more pages under that particular auspice. Yeah. It's always been difficult trying to find the financing to get anything done, let alone a major motion picture or webcomic or anything artistic, especially if you don't do it yourself. Oh, yeah. All right. So I think that wraps up our personal news segment. So let's get right to the meat of this. If you want to put up our first graphic of the night over the film strip, that would be great.
Alrighty.
Just let me know when it's there, because there's the latency on the actual stream.
Which one are we starting with?
The Joe Biden tweet.
Alrighty. Alright, it's up.
Okay. So let's just jump right into it. I mean, last night's presidential debate, to call it a clusterfuck.
I was going to say, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, to call it a clusterfuck or a shit show would be to grossly underestimate the situation, or rather undersell
those are the terms that the people who are actually on TV news were using.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, it was after Safe Harbor, so I guess you could let it loose.
It was bad when Chuck Todd couldn't spin it. Chuck Todd couldn't spin it.
You couldn't spin this one.
I appreciate that Joe Biden tried to conduct some element of civility throughout this whole thing, but I'm also appreciative of the fact that at some point in the debate, 2012 vice presidential debate, Joe Biden showed up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it was rough television, and I think for everybody in that room was like, what the hell? I think even Joe Biden for a lot of that is like, what? Okay.
Right.
Punching him and punching him like, it's like, and eventually the guy at the moment was like, will you just shut up?
Right. Which was, of course, the meme of the night, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes, it was. It's basically like, oh, will you just shut up? It's like, it was rough. I mean, I don't know how anybody was able to sit through that entire freaking debate. It was rough to watch.
It was triggering my anxiety hard. I will say that much for sure. It's like anytime I'm watching my two dads argue.
Mm-hmm. I forgot who it was. Like, pretty much say it was like talking with an anti-masker at CVS.
Oh my God.
That's pretty much what it was.
Right. So of course, in the lead up to the, well, before I say that, I should say I felt it was a little naive on the part of the Biden campaign to assume for even a second that Trump was going to try to fight fair.
They were pretty much expecting that it was going to be personal. They already put it out there. They were fully expecting this to be personal. I mean, they telegraphed it in the press that it were going to be personal. They didn't hide anything. I don't think anybody was naive about that. I think what the shock was is that how personal and how attack it was. You know,
Right.
everybody was
probably
expecting it to be this.
It was
Well,
probably.
I don't think even the moderator was actually surprised. I just think they wanted to at least have one where they pretended that the normal rules would work before they tried to institute new rules.
Well, you know,
I think everybody underestimated what Trump was going to do. Did everybody expect this to be personal and attackful? Yes. Everybody expected that. Did they expect that performance? No, I don't think they expected it just like that.
My concern,
Mhm.
my concern about Chris Wallace, as always, is that when he is on his own show where he has control of the situation, he always sounds fairly composed. But like, even before they started talking, he sounded wobbly. Like he knew what to expect, and it was triggering his own anxiety.
He should have known better.
See, I think he did know better.
I don't think he did. I don't think that even he expected it to be like this, but at the same time, that doesn't excuse the fact that he waited like a freaking 45 minutes to an hour in before he realized, oh shoot, I'm starting to lose control of this thing. I gotta jump on it.
Yeah. Yeah,
like he waited like a full hour in before he decided to go, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
Like he let Trump just like ride for a long period of time in a lot of those segments. Like he let that thing roll too damn long.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they're now talking about changing the rules for the next one, and of course, the guy who likes to just fucking shout all of his talking points over the rest of the audience without having anyone actually trying to control him really doesn't want that to happen.
Although I would point out that these rule changes that they're going to come up with, I don't think it's going to matter much for the second debate, because that's going to be the town hall one. It's basically them going to be standing and asking and pretty much talking to the people, and I don't even know how they're going to do a town hall with the pandemic, but that's beside the point.
Well, they had a town hall
with
style
enormous
one where,
sarcasm quotes.
Hold on a second. Hold up a second. Now, Trump actually did a town hall. What was it? 2 weeks ago, and he got fucking hammered by the people in the audience. So I hope to God they do that exact same format, so that way they can absolutely smother him. Because for some reason, when he's standing at that lectern, that he uses it to draw strength. And as a result, he even when he's insane raving, he sounds a little more composed. But when he was sitting in that chair, exposed to George Stephanopoulos and those people in the audience railing at him, you know, he was lost in the fucking weeds. And he started rambling and saying all kinds of bizarre stuff and like making up words and statistics and
more than usual, you mean?
Yeah, and he was just sitting there like, it's like herd mentality.
Her emails!
Okay. Kind of like your followers, you mean?
Now, of course, it's going to depend on how Trump does it, because, of course, it's not going to be like network television town halls or cable town halls. It's going to be basically those two and a moderator who, funny enough, happens to be a guy who deals with crazy people on the regular because it's someone from C-SPAN. So
I think they should just get Sam Jackson.
Right.
Anybody would be preferable.
So, shifting the conversation a bit, we do need to talk about why this was so important for Trump. Why
Put up the second graphic for that. The Trump put on the Queensberry Rules one.
Yeah. Because Trump is about 8 points behind nationally?
7-8, yeah.
7-8.
Yeah.
And his margins in the electoral states are pretty bad. Like he's in dead heat in Iowa, for example. Basically, by all by accounts of what we can measure right now, he's losing the election, which
Yes.
is, which is pretty stunning in modern American politics, because we have not had a one-term president in about 30 years.
Is this the
Yeah.
right one, Mac?
Yeah.
All right.
I was just telling you to narrow the focus on the graphics, so we don't need the replies.
All right.
And
Go ahead, guys. Sorry.
And so one of the issues that the candidates face, especially Trump, is there's a lot more what they call hardened cement, which is voters who have made up their mind versus wet cement, which is, undecided voters. And that's what these debates are supposed to be for. They're not for the diehards or the people who are already going to vote Biden or Trump. And they do exist. It's not a big number, but it's still a number. And that is what it's being competing for. And Trump metaphorically shat the bed here. Like,
Yep. Yes, he did.
and okay, we do have another, because we have the Insta polls, and they have I think the three major ones, we have the TV.
We had CBS, YouGov, and I think that's the CNBC change one, but I don't know if that's the fourth, because there was three last night.
Yeah,
but all of them were overwhelmingly for Biden.
Yeah,
but that doesn't matter that much, because Trump thinks he won. Which, to be fair, there were several metrics on which he won: amount of time spoken, number of interruptions, untruthful statements, breaches of decorum.
So we actually have another metric in, and it's one that Trump really cares about: rating. The early TV ratings are in, and they're down bigly.
It was 82, 83 in 16, and it's 64 in 2020.
I'm seeing 43 million in 2016 for the first, and 29 million for this one.
Okay. I thought it was. I saw things that, I guess I counted the cable stuff, but because I saw it was like 60 something with all the cable and with everything involved.
Yeah. I watched it on NPR's stream on Facebook, so I didn't watch. I wasn't counted in those ratings.
So, point is,
Still, you got to imagine that the ratings are better when people don't fucking know what they're gonna see ahead of time.
Right. Yeah. And that feeds into Trump's problem.
Mm-hmm.
And indeed, Trump may have already lost the debates.
Right, because after watching this, which was train wreck television, it's like, why would you want to watch the next one? Why would you want to watch the other ones? Because chances are you're not going to see a different Trump, even though they're saying he needs to be a different Trump. You're not going to get a different Trump.
I don't think there is a different Trump.
No.
The only other Trump there is the Trump who's very specifically sticking to what's on a teleprompter.
Yeah, we get either
talk slowly, cringing at the camera, and struggling desperately and wanting so badly to ad-lib and to riff.
Yeah.
He can barely read a page before he does that.
Mm-hmm.
Trump is terrible scripted. I know he's terrible all the time, but he's the different. He's
terrible scripted because you can tell he's scripted. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Like most speakers, when you're on a teleprompter and when you're reading a script, you can tell if it's natural, if it flows. And you can also tell if someone's struggling and hard and reading. And especially with Trump, you can see it because he always cringes his eyes to look at the teleprompter, cringes his eyes. And then eventually he just riffs and all of a sudden he looks normal. Because he's not on a script. Because he can't stick to a script for more than 2-3 paragraphs.
Well, it's also when he sticks to a script, he is so dull.
Yeah, he's unnatural.
He does not know how to handle it. And
to be fair,
if he works
by some metrics, unnatural is a vast improvement over incoherent.
Can we switch that graphic, please? I'm sorry to keep calling this out, but we need to make sure that we get coherent flow of information across the video stream. I wanted the Queensberry rules one because I wanted to make a comment about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, guys. I just wanted to make sure that we're paying attention to the Discord so that way the editing's more smooth.
So these are being edited.
No, what I mean by that is that we're editing on the fly.
I see.
Yeah. So it seems more seamless. We're obviously going to have weird production discussions in the middle of the podcast in the first couple episodes because
we're trying to get this right. Partner does.
And so all right, so now we have it on the screen here, and this is one of the things that I really felt encapsulated the whole thing, because I was talking to Adam in the before the pre-show, where I was going through the hashtag false equivalency on Twitter over the debates, and this one really struck me. John W. Dean writes, Trump puts on a shit show and the media insists on false equivalency. These are not two sides of the debate. Biden should not be held to Queensberry rules when Trump was using a switchblade. Enough of false equivalency journalism. Tell it like it is with Trump. Stop equating him. And I really thought that was kind of important to this whole discussion because, I mean, if you go back to the political cartoon where they show one person say, oppression is bad, and then another person says, most oppression is okay, and then the third person says, I can't tell the difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what the media is doing right now. They're perpetuating this false narrative that there's really no difference between these two candidates, and they're just, two slightly more evil versions of different sides of the same coin, and that's a totally false fucking narrative. If you can't see the difference between almost wannabe Hitler and Joe Biden, who is a flawed but otherwise kindly human being, then you need to get the fuck off my feet.
Alternately between an actual politician and a con man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sometimes they're one and the same, but
Okay, a con man, not even a good con man. A low-grade con man who's bad at it.
Let's not backpedal on this one until we make the Earth rotate the other direction.
Fair enough.
The point is that there's way too much false equivalency going on right now, and the media is perpetuating it in Trump's favor, and I don't think that that's right. I mean, that's crazy. It's not even comparable.
I mean, if you think about it, this has pretty much been the thing that's been happening since the moment he came down that escalator.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you recall, it took the media 2-3 days before. Wait a minute, what did he say about Mexicans?
Right.
Because literally, he
or
said
shooting
it on
people on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, it literally took days for them to pick that up. It went right over everybody's heads.
They were transfixed.
They played kid gloves on Trump then, and they're struggling to try to do it now. But the problem is that we've had 5 years of this. He has not changed. He has not grown into the office. He's not pivoted. He's not done what the media has wanted him to do for years. And they're struggling to try to keep the false equivalency going. But the problem is nobody's buying it anymore. Outside of Washington, D.C. and outside of New York, nobody's buying it.
Right.
Well, so to put a capstone on that particular pattern of behavior, we got Trump's tax time. Like you have the New York Times bombshell reporting on Trump's taxes. Somehow
which naturally he calls fake news.
Of course.
Right.
No surprise there.
Yeah, that's about the most expected thing that could happen. But here's the thing. This has been a story since 2016. In fact, it came up during the first debate of 2016.
Of course, the thing about it was we didn't have hard numbers. We just had the idea that, wait, why aren't you showing us your tax returns? What are you hiding?
Yeah.
Now we know what he's hiding.
Yeah.
Now we know what the deal is. That's the difference between now and then. Back then, it was just a simple concept, an idea, like trying to fill in the blanks. Now we have firm ways of filling in the blank.
Right, but going back to my point is the media wasn't really interested in following up on the whole, hey, why isn't this guy releasing his tax returns? You know, the first presidential candidate who hasn't done that since Nixon. You know, the last guy who got caught with shady tax dealings going on. Like, but instead of that, it was, all fucking buttering emails.
The media did not want to talk about Trump's taxes. What they wanted to talk about was the Russian stolen emails. And the thing about it is that the media has never owned up to the fact that for months in 2016, they actively put out there Russian stolen information.
To be fair, the media has never owned up to the fact that they played a really big part in getting us to the Iraq War. The media is not really good at self-reflection.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No. So, never be surprised that the American mainstream media sucks at its job.
One of the criticisms of this debate was that Chris Wallace was apparently experiencing battered wife syndrome, and I say, I think the media has been suffering from that since forever. Ever since we repealed the fairness doctrine, really, anytime ratings comes up, they come right back to their abusive spouse, which is
there's been like a long term, and this made sense for a long time. There's been a long-term guidelines on like how you treat what we will currently refer to as the President of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And currently the person who is occupying that office, and by occupying the office, I mean the physical office, not the metaphorical one, because I refuse to call him that.
Squatting on the toilet he installed behind the Resolute desk.
Fucking something like that.
Yeah.
Is not worthy of the amount of respect that the guidelines indicate.
Yeah.
Stuff like this is cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Maya Angelou once famously opined that when evil tells you who they are, you should listen.
Mm-hmm.
And as a sort of corollary, evil doesn't seem to have a problem announcing loud and proud exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing out the Resolute desk, hanging the picture of a psychopath like Andrew Jackson in the Oval Office, alongside busts of civil rights leaders and other things that have been in the White House basement for far too long, and other things that should go right back in there and never return.
Mm-hmm.
He told you who he was.
Yeah.
And we didn't listen. Or worse yet, and this was another tweet that I read, somewhere between 26 and 41% of this country is not only perfectly okay with that, but they are also signaling to you and I and everyone else out there that they are exactly what that is. So when people say weird stuff like there's nothing more un-American than, I'm like, in the immortal words of Japan, chotomate. Hold up.
Racism, xenophobia, misogyny, and insert any phobia here has been a part of this country, and it's been a part of this republic since its founding in 1776. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Yeah, I think the only way that we're going to move forward is if we collectively, as a nation, one and all, acknowledge this fact and take actual steps to correct it. But until we actually get past the denial phase of grief, we're never going to fix this.
Yeah, that's the problem, because white people don't want to admit that America has flaws and that they have flaws. And so they need somebody who tells them that, yes, there is no flaws. There is no problem. And I will listen to me. And when they hear that, they love it.
Right.
And unfortunately, to a large extent, well, actually, you know what? Never mind. This isn't a good time for that particular tirade. I'll put that off for when it comes up.
Okay. No, it's just fascinating to me because it shows a great deal of insecurity on the part of white America that they're so worried about. Well, it's I'm not a racist. Well, actually, you are, and that's it's okay to admit that. It's
Yeah,
okay
I
to
have
admit that, and the only way you're going to move on from that is if you admit that and strive to do better.
Yeah, see, I have a term that I like to use for people who
That's
say
the minimum.
I'm not a racist. You know, they're called
Mhm.
internal race. I call them internal racists. They don't show you their racism. They don't spew the N-word every 5 minutes. They don't wear a hood. They don't wear, racist propaganda. They tell you to your face, I'm not a racist. Look, I got black friends over here. Yada 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 yada. But if you ask them specific pointed questions and put in front of them a specific situation, their racism just spews right in front of your face. That's happened every single time. I'm not racist, but then if you ask them a question about police brutality, if you ask them a question about law enforcement overstepping their boundaries, chances are they'll reveal their inner racism to you.
Right. Now, since we've kind of dovetailed into the general topic of racism and politics in America, I think Adam, you said something about wanting to talk about the Supreme Court. feels like a good time to bring that up.
Yeah. So, not sure if you've missed the news, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg has finally died. And we've got, what's her name? Fucking Amy. Yeah. We got Judge Handmaiden over here. And
Yeah.
So perfect.
Yep.
And look, there's no easy way to cope this. Like it's like we're looking at a 6-3 conservative court.
Yep.
And what that means is the ACA probably going to die here. The Roe v. Wade decision will be overturned in some manner.
Be kicked over to the states, and an abortion will be either impossible or illegal in dark red states. That's what I think anyway.
Now, I did want to bring up something because I had to label a few people the two dumbest people on the internet. They were saying, well, we have to ramrod this through because we can't have a 5-4 court. And I said, do you honestly think that the ghost of Ruth Bader Ginsburg is going to vote on stuff from the grave? Because it's not going to be a 4-4 decision.
Yeah,
son.
it would be a
It's already.
You'd have a 5-3. That's fairly strong.
Yeah, I mean, unless John Roberts.
Because
you guys just aren't happy because Roberts and fucking Gorsuch haven't been as conservative as you wanted them to be.
Yeah, they haven't been as lapdoggy as they would have liked.
Yeah,
Kavanaugh,
About being on the Supreme fucking Court, it means you don't have to be a goddamn lapdog unless you're extremely financially compromised. Glances.
Yep.
I just thought it was interesting because it's like, guys, you don't have to worry about there being a quote unquote divided court. You've already won.
Yeah, because the justice who died is on the liberal side, and it was 5-4, so naturally it's 5-3.
Yeah, that really struck me as odd.
Yeah,
but people don't understand.
It's not 2016 when Scalia died because that was on the conservative side. So then you had 4-4. They put a new one in, that's 5-4. Then on the other side, a liberal dies, now it's 5-3.
Now, one thing that has always struck me as odd about Americans' understanding of civics, and I'm going to preface this by saying that I fully understand that California is one of the last states in the union that actually pushes a civics-like course on its high school students.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at these textbooks coming out of Texas where it says bullshit like Native Americans were actually asked if they would kindly move off their land so that way there would be more space for the European settlers. What the fuck?
Well,
this is what kids are learning. This is what kids are being taught.
See, the words were inscribed one letter at a time on all of the guns that they fired at them.
Of course. Right on the bullets so they were easy to read.
Right.
To be fair, they did ask. They just asked in English and not the native language of the particular people they were talking to. And when they had a miscommunication, and then when they eventually did learn English, it's like, will you move out? No. There you go.
Utter misunderstanding of election laws. in the
Right.
United States.
Like this fucking thing in Oklahoma. This thing, the resolution of
Okay.
this thing in Oklahoma,
Hold up.
where where tribal courts or whatever. The reason, do you know why that came up? Because the federal government didn't even bother to officially break the treaty properly.
All right, pause for a second, because if you interrupt me again, I'm going to start referring to you as Donald.
Fuck.
All right, so I don't want to be personal like that, okay?
Mhm.
Let's. The point is that, and somebody's going to have to give me the actual article and section of the Constitution where it is said that any election and dispute will be handled by the Supreme Court. Because last time I checked,
Yeah.
anytime that there was a dispute over electoral votes in a national election, the Constitution is pretty explicit that those electoral votes should be nullified and that the vote should go to the House of Representatives. Am I misunderstanding the Constitution on this?
Well, I think it's because, the 2000 election still looms in the background there.
Same point
so
there. Hold up. Same point there. That should never have been a Supreme Court case.
No,
that should have been. It's like, you know what? It doesn't even need to go to court, gentlemen. Votes are nullified. Nobody got to 270. House of Representatives it is. And we might have still gotten Bush. But at least then it would have been a constitutional process.
Oh yeah. See, the part that you're missing is the part where that has a chance of having it not go the way that certain people want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got an A in U.S. government, just for the record.
I did well in civics as well.
Yeah, I did too.
I think most of us did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now in college, I took the same course again, and then I got some jagoff who spent the first 9 weeks of a 12-week course explaining his resume.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I can also see why there might be a failure post-primary education.
Yeah.
But it's just fascinating. It's just fascinating to me that the abdication and abrogation.
Also, I think sorry, never mind.
Of law. All right, Donnie.
I was
No,
apologizing.
I'm teasing, dude. It's all in fun. I'm not trying to be personal, but but the fact of the matter is that I don't understand this. I don't understand the abdication and abrogation of constitutional law on the part of all of our branches of government, from the city and state level on up. It's like nobody's ever read these fucking documents. And it's like, if somebody had, they might actually throw up some challenges.
So I think some of it is they want the thing that's also easiest for them to do as a government. And also, I think that it would actually probably not go over too well publicity-wise to have an election decided by even less popular of a vote.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we do have historical precedents for the House of Representatives making an incredibly unpopular vote.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
that is the election of John Quincy Adams in 1824, which I have mentioned many times on social media, but to resounding thuds of silence.
Although I think the more infamous one to me is 1876, when that did get kicked to the House of Representatives. They were deadlocked, and we ended up with a president with a deal that had a president of, I think it was the Democratic Party in exchange, or Republican Party in exchange for troops being led from the South, which led to the end of Reconstruction and the start of Jim Crow. So
Was
Yeah,
that Rutherford B. Hayes? Was
Yes,
that after?
that is indeed
Hmm.
Rutherford B. Hayes is what I'm talking about here. That's the one that is the most that everybody thinks about. It's Rutherford B. Hayes.
Now knocked down to the third most unpopular president in U.S. history.
Well, yeah.
Led by Donald J. Trump, followed by Buchanan.
I don't know if Buchanan's second. I think there'll be probably others that would be willing to fight for that second spot. more
possibly.
modern ones. Yeah.
Well, like Warren G. Harding, if he hadn't died in office, he would have been arrested.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of competent competitors.
Teapot Dome and all that fun
Well,
stuff.
then he had something in common with this orange asshole.
Yeah, and he was also a pretty seedy individual, but
You know, the thing is, even though Richard Nixon resigned, keep in mind something, that he was still oddly popular, especially with Republicans, right up until the day he died.
Well, he had that secret plan to end the Vietnam War and all.
China, and also he opened up China,
Well,
which
yeah, well,
I
only
think
Nixon could go to
will be
China.
kinda happy with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Although
only Nixon could go to China.
Yeah, pretty much. Probably the only American who could set foot in China right now is the ghost of Richard Nixon.
Only Nixon could go to China.
Yes.
That's what I was referencing. Thank you, Star Trek 6, for putting that into the popular lexicon.
Indeed. And so that was the debates, and that's just some of the stuff that has been going on. And what will tomorrow bring? Who knows? Who knows what crazy still resides? Because guess what? Tomorrow is October, and that means the October surprise.
We got that a day early. I think we got that a few days early with Trump's tax return.
Yeah.
Probably, but you never know in this hell year.
True, but the other thing that strikes me as funny is anybody going to call out the fact that this so-called letter from the FBI that says, well, I mean, we had our concerns about Hillary Clinton's campaign, but we don't actually have any evidence. But here's to you, Mr. Graham. Did you see that fucking letter?
Yeah,
the one that said absolutely nothing but Trump
told us.
Yeah, it's like Trump tried to use that in the debates, and it's like that letter says absolutely nothing of value.
Yeah.
That letter says, well, I mean, we suspected some stuff, but it actually states that it never went anywhere.
Yeah. Well, actually, that was more. Here's what the Russians have been saying. We don't know if it's true or not, but here's what they said.
A lot of people
Mac,
have said.
sorry, I'm going to have to hold you in violation of the Republican Party rules of being a good citizen by actually reading the document that they're waving in front of you.
And what's next? Reading the Bible?
Dude, I'm giving you a bitch please look right now.
At any rate,
I have a feeling, just for the record here, guys, that we are going to have a rather interesting podcast in general as this progresses. And don't be surprised if any right-wingers try to dox you, especially Tennessee Titans fans. Oops.
There's a reason why I have us in the locked channel.
I mean, well, here's the thing. Possibly, or we might be nearing the end of a very insane era. I'm not going to say it's all going to go away, but, getting Trump out of office.
I'd rather have COVID-19 news be the top story than what Trump did last night. Trump tweeted on the toilet at 2 in the morning.
I'm pretty sure the post, a Biden presidency is not going to be this.
No, it won't. It will not.
A constitutional crisis every day.
Yeah, because Joe Biden will have an intern doing his tweets.
If Trump gets,
which is what
do press releases instead of communicating exclusively through his own brain vomit.
Yes, it'll be.
I got to tell you,
an intern on @POTUS instead of whatever the hell comes out of his head at 2 in the morning while he's sitting on the toilet at real Donald Trump.
I'm just going to tell everybody right now, and I say this completely without hyperbole, and that is that if we somehow end up with Trump as president for 4 more years, it is no longer going to be about transition of power. It's going to be about It's going to be about rules of ascension. It's as simple as that, because it will validate everything that we have said are enigmatic to American values. It will validate the idea that he should not be repudiated for everything that he is doing.
And all of his 12 more years stuff has been textbook. Just kidding, unless.
Oh, there's so much about Trump that's dictatorship 101. It's not funny. Like the whole cult thing, there's a more proper definition for it. Cult of personality.
Yep.
You know, and dictators usually have that. You know? And the list goes down the line.
I mean, everybody says, well, as long as the Constitution is there, this can't possibly happen. To which I would reply, Russia also had a constitution.
And then Putin shit on it.
Yeah, and Putin has basically manufactured a situation to where the Supreme Court that he and Medvedev installed into power basically told him, do whatever you want. For the next 16 or 60 years, nobody gives a fuck.
So I think the issue here is
the Okrogellian chief has already done a good job of starting doing stuff that's
Knock
pretty
it off,
much
Galax.
technically unconstitutional, but it only counts if people call you on it.
Galax, I am trying to say something here.
Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Queensbury rules.
So
go on.
The working theory right now is that unlike, say, Russia or, say, the Weimar Republic of Germany, it's called the Sonderweg theory. We are talking about countries that don't have long, strong democratic traditions. The simple fact of the matter is, we don't know what's going to fully happen when and if Trump tries to actually stage a coup or tries to do something that's not, if he tries to stay for, if he gets elected for a second term, runs for a third term or whatever, just all the hypotheticals that are shooting around. It's like, the idea that the populace at large will stand for it is also untested.
Yeah.
Because, it's like, I understand that, yes, he's been doing some institutional erosion, but it's also like we went through a 4-year civil war and we emerged as a country. My point is, our that kind of dictatorial collapse may happen. But it's also not. We are not coming off of, like, say, 15 years of democracy or any small number like that. We're coming off of 225 or so, and yes, you can define democracy in a whole slew of different ways because we're actually more democratic now than we were, say, a couple hundred years ago. But
I think another thing to note here is that while there is a general unrest in the populace, it is nowhere near pitchforks and boiling oil levels.
Yeah.
It is mostly resistance against institutional injustice, which is somewhat bending to that will, which I think signals to me that our democratic republic does actually still work. Yeah, we got some last gasps from a dying breed who are trying desperately to stay in power and relevancy.
Yes.
But I think even the majority of conservatives are getting tired of the horse shit. And I think we're giving way too much oxygen to the fringes. Whether it's on the left or the right, we're giving way too much oxygen to the people who are like, there is, we literally have the polar extremes right now of the sky is falling and there is no sky.
Yeah.
And that's the fringes of both parties.
I mean, I've gotten to the point where I've just muted out all of the doom and gloom stuff because it's like, think about it. Think of it as like the people who are on this, who are in these protests, like before dark, and those who are out there after dark. Focus on the ones that are there out in the daytime, and forget about the ones that are out there after dark.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of the protests and civil unrest, it's like the left is making itself heard. The right is slinging mud from the bunkers and the dumpsters.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, in a way, and I never like to give credit to this guy for any reason, but in a way, Trump's statement is accurate in that he said that he's seeing more unrest from the left than from the right, but justifiably so. The right is operating in the shadows, and they're hoping that we never shine a bright light into those shadowy corners to expose them. Because as we say, the greatest disinfectant is sunlight.
Yeah.
I suppose that does need to be further quantified before we end things here, because this is kind of the biggest thing that has come out of the first debate. And that is Trump's once again refusal to condemn white supremacists. We all know the reason, but it's coming along with the FBI. Trump's own FBI director saying that the biggest threat to Americans right now isn't any sort of foreign menace; it's white supremacist group.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, and it's also the thing is, the white supremacist groups may not be conducting unrest as defined by those in power right now, because, well, to quote Rage Against the Machine, some people who burn crosses also due process. Like, we've got a lot of evidence that the white supremacists and the police are very chummy with each other.
Yeah.
Because
and that's not a new thing either.
No, we got a report about this in 2009 that got suppressed or taken back because Republicans complained about it.
Yeah.
Because guess what? The Republicans aren't fucking stupid. At least a lot of them aren't. They may pretend to be, but like, they know who their audience is. They know who their base is, especially the Trumpians.
And there's a report, and there's like Robert Costa of the Washington Post reported tonight that there's Senate Republicans in these states trying to figure out what they're going to do about the questions about the Proud Boys stuff now, and they're pretty much trying to say, maybe we could deflect it into something that helps us. Deflection, not denouncement. That tells you everything you need to know about them.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's a great note to wrap up on.
The world we live in.
Yeah. I think we've had a very productive discussion tonight, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to report on sunnier things. But I think it's necessary. I do think it's necessary that we keep shining a light on the struggle and talking it up, because this shit ain't over, not by a long shot.
Nope, not over yet.
And it doesn't go away even if Biden becomes president.
Nope, it does not.
Yeah,
you gotta keep up on their ass, because it might come right back.
Because that's something we lost sight of in like the period of 2008 to 2010.
We certainly did.
It's like people thought Obama was elected and everything was sunshine. Remember the phrase post-racial society?
Oh God!
Do you remember these words that were used in earnest? Like, they're not even used mockingly; they're just dead.
Yep.
Because
and then the Robert Louis Gates thing happened, and then we realized, oh, wait a minute. Then Tea Party came in and went, wait.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right.
Vigilance is needed. All right.
Indeed. All right. Great show tonight, guys. I want to thank, of course, all of our crew for coming on board and chiming in. I'm glad to see that we really didn't have much by way of technical failure.
Yeah.
There were some initial problems with Skype, but we seem to have moved past that.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the future we'll be able to actually have guests, political commentators, who knows, even actual politicians. Anything can happen. Then we can grill them.
Literally or metaphorically?
I was going to say, do you mean asking questions or the nice
Yes.
idea?
I'm saying yes to all of that. Stand down and stand by. Oh my God. All right. This has been MacPaladin from Last Newsdesk on the left, and of course Adam and the crew with me. Thanks for listening to us. Make sure you smack like and subscribe, and of course leave a comment. Hopefully not terrible ones. Until next week.
Cheers.